up like that, man. Technology came a long way in a short period of time.
Boys and girls, prepare your ear holes for the best wrestling part. The hard-hitting wrestling show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hard Hittin Wrestling Show. This is a special edition, and I have a special guest. For the first time on video, we have Walter, man. Hey, thank you for joining me in this short notice. I reached out to him on Twitter, and within 5 minutes, bam, there he is. We go back to season 1 of our Hard Hittin Wrestling Show to the point where we had you on one of our predictions and stuff, but this was on the podcast. So, and now we finally get to see each other face to face.
Absolutely.
Real recap we got going on. Last Tuesday we had a Money in the Bank predictions, but we want to hear from you, Walter, on your predictions that's happening on this Sunday, the WWE Network, the Money in the Bank. But instead of going straight to the ladder match, let's back it up real quick and let's focus on what do you feel about the SmackDown Tag Team Fatal 4-Way?
Well, that's an easy pick for me, man. I got to go with my longtime favorites, The Miz and Morrison. Hey.
Oh. You know, my kids be singing that too. I actually did a remix to that until they came up with their own song. And I was like, man, my version was a lot better. So if you haven't heard it yet, just go onto the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Pandora. You can catch the remix of Miz and Morrison. But you really think that these guys are going to pull it off?
Yes, I do, man. They got the most experience. They got the most tenure. They've got the most singles experience. And a lot of times I've always thought, sometimes the best tag teams are the tag teams that are two individual singles wrestlers. I think that's one of the reasons that SCU and AEW has been so successful. Just another example. Yeah,
but then you got like the Forgotten Sons coming out of nowhere. I feel like they still doing wrong with the Lucha House Party. But then the Usos, and then you have the New Day. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just I feel like that division itself, the tag teams are not utilized properly. We haven't seen the traditional 2-on-2 that they earned that right to be called the number one contender to defeat the actual champions and then move on. But it's just so much cluster going on in there. That's a little bit different than on Raw, because on Raw we did have the Viking Raiders versus the Street Profits. But then again, on that one, I just didn't understand why the Viking Raiders were not awarded the tag team titles. If you're going to call yourself the best, ain't the best supposed to have the titles around their waist?
Oh, no doubt, man. I absolutely agree with that. I'm a big fan of War Machine. And honestly, to this day, I still can't get over the fact that the WWE decided to change up their name and give them that silly gimmick of having the headgear and all that stuff on. I just never understood it, man. They were good the way they were, and it's hard to take them as seriously when they're coming out looking like they just came out of
right. They were called the War Raiders back in NXT. Yeah. So and then they had like 3 different names before they finalized it to the Viking Raiders. But I want them to win, but I just don't see how the New Day could just give up the titles when they just won it, So I think we had agreed on our show on Tuesday that the New Day were going to remain champions. But, I mean, hey, if they do win, then that's cool. But here's the catch, is that now we got the hacker in the house, and he's eyeing on Miz and Morrison and the New Day. Now, I was convinced maybe Xavier Woods will do it, or maybe a CM Punk. But then when I look at the hands, it's not Xavier Woods, right? And it's not CM Punk because you don't see any tattoos. But 90%, yeah.
I
Go ahead.
seen that thing where people were trying to say that hidden upside down message was CM Punk. And I just feel like if he was going to come back, he would have been came back by now. This
Eh,
just seems like a weird time for it to happen. I definitely think it's
He's
Mustafa.
not gonna hide behind the monitor and just tease everybody because he's a very straight up type of guy. So he doesn't need social media. He doesn't need to be in a hoodie just to get his point across. So I think it was ridiculous for Renee Young to actually say something like that. Um, but the other match that's happening uh, is the SmackDown Universal Title. You got
Oh, yeah.
Braun Strowman versus
The
Bray
Fiend.
Wyatt. Yeah. So, what do you think on that match?
Man, I've always been a big fan of Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, so I'm kind of in a rock and a hard place on this one. It's really a coin flip. I don't really see a bad outcome with either of those two winning. They're two tremendous superstars, but if I got to go with a longtime fan of him, I got to go with Bray Wyatt. It's just still
Yeah.
number three.
Bray Wyatt himself, I don't think is going to win. I think he still needs the Fiend to go ahead and conquer. But what's going to be interesting to see is how they do this pay per view because it all depends on who wins on the Money in the Bank. You know, uh, we'll get right into it on that Money in the Bank to the fact that it has to be a heel to win this year. You got Drew McIntyre as a kayfabe babyface. You have Braun Strowman, fan favorite. I mean, you're gonna have somebody to cash it in. It's got to be the opposite. You think so, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair, man. But you never know. We can always see the swerve. I think that Drew McIntyre is definitely going to retain. Seth Rollins, we done had a whole long situation with him as the champ last year, and he's still, in the somewhat early stages of his Messiah situation. I just don't see him pulling off against Drew McIntyre. Especially not on title fence number one for Drew McIntyre. That's a very rare thing where you see somebody lose a world championship on their first title defense. It's
Actually, it's the second because he had defeated the Big Show.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. But I mean, at that point, I think it was more of him publicizing his show on Netflix. But this is the way I see it. I say that if AJ Styles were to win, that'd be perfect because he does have history with Seth Rollins. He could create some turbulence on Raw. But if it was SmackDown, there ain't no other superstar but King Corbin to win it. Have Bray Wyatt bring out the Fiend, right? Stomp on Braun Strowman, get frustrated because of the fact that, he left the family and stuff like that to where King Corbin comes in, cashes it in, and we might see a new champion Sunday night. I mean, that could be a possibility. So, I mean, one of those two, in my opinion, is going to win. I love Aleister Black. I mean, he's at top of his game, but I don't think that he needs to be the Money in the Bank winner. I think he needs, and I kept pushing it, and we got a small tease already, but I'd rather see him challenge Andrade for the United States Championship.
Yeah, definitely, man. Andrade is one of the most talented superstars on that entire roster. It's really been a pleasure and a privilege to see him make the rise that he has from NXT. But actually, the Diamond Rough to watch is going to be Austin Theory, and I do think in the not too distant future, he's going to be on that United States Championship around his waist.
Well, I mean, it's been a while since we seen that title being defended, and I had thought that maybe Rey Mysterio was the guy, but it kept pushing it. So we'll see what happens there. But then we also have again. I mean, let's talk about it now. The Raw side of the house where we have the WWE Championship on the line. Like you mentioned, you say Drew, I say Drew. And then again, it's just a surprising factor. Somebody else got to go in there and make some turbulence, whether it's cashing in the bank or not. We'll see what happens there. The other championship match is SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley versus Tamina.
Oh boy.
Uh, Hey, it's big on social media that that their family, the Usos, are cheering for Tamina. Like everyone's behind her to see if she's gonna make it. But I still don't think that. I'm not convinced, man. I still think Bayley's gonna remain champion.
Tamina's got no chance.
All right. And then let's put it this way. Now we got the women's ladder match. So who you got in that match?
Well, I've got a prop for you to answer that question.
All right.
Woman right here, Dana Brooke,
Are you serious?
pure inside the sickness, is going to get the briefcase.
Wow. You know what? I mean, I wrote an article on hhwshow.com about it, to the fact that she is physically fit and able to climb that corporate ladder, to go through a lot of obstacles to get there. And I think she'll be well deserved to get that push, because she was always behind the scenes. You know, she's always getting passed over, or she's allowing another superstar to gain ground. And I think it's about time for her. I really do. Frank Quest is listening in. I appreciate your comment. He also agrees with you for Dana Brooke. But if it's not her, I like Lacey Evans. I think that this is her opportunity to get there, because she hasn't beaten Bayley. I think her character and it's not suited properly. I mean, she beat Sasha Banks. I mean, she knocked her out and stuff, but I still think that she's capable of doing the same thing to Bayley without any help, without any distractions. And I think that at the Royal Rumble, that match was pretty much rushed. Like there was no development or anything like that. So this is like a reboot, I think. So if Lacey Evans was to win that briefcase, then more likely she's going to cash it in. You know, so I still think one of the two is going to cash it in that Sunday night. I don't know who. I know last year Bayley did it at the Hartford, Connecticut XO Center. But any other ones like Shayna Baszler, she don't need it. She can still continue her rivalry. You know, Becky Lynch wants to talk to the winner of the briefcase, but I don't think she's going to be allowed to. I think Shayna Baszler is going to go out and attack her, and we're finally going to get that showdown, because that's what we really needed. I don't think we needed Shayna Baszler Elimination Chamber. I think that was a waste of time. But yeah, I mean, I don't see anyone else. Do you see another surprise for that match?
I mean, I really don't, man. I mean, Shayna Baszler, I mean, could win it. I mean, that's definitely a great alternative. But I don't like Shayna Baszler the way everybody else does. But I definitely see why that could be.
Well, I mean, we have to wait and see this Sunday. We'll see. We're gonna have a post show going on with the rest of the HHW crew. Post match right after, assuming that it's over by 10:30ish. We'll see what happens.
Think anyone's going off the rope?
Nah, I don't think so, man. As a matter of fact, I actually went there a couple weeks ago to see the WWE headquarters, but I didn't see any crane over the building. So I didn't see any setups. So I'm going to take it that the match was already recorded and already displayed. And that's the thing, is when will they actually present that on the show? Because that will determine if we got a big surprise for the main event. So we'll see from there. But hey, Walter, I appreciate you coming in on the short notice.
Absolutely.
Hey, everybody's tuned in, because on Sunday night with Frank, with Hector, with Tyler Bard, with Noah and myself, we're going to be discussing and see our post reactions of Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So on behalf of Clovercrest Media and myself, Obi Muniz, thank you, Walter. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And this is the Hard Hittin' Wrestling Show.
Be sure to visit hswshow.com where you can find all the Clovercrest Media sports shows, including the Hard Hittin Wrestling Show, All Four Downs, and Keys to the City. If you ever want to do a podcast, this is the place to do it. Starting at just $15 a month, you can get unlimited hosting and $50 for full service. Visit clovercrestmedia.com for more information.
A big thank you to the StreamYard for their fine streaming service. For Tyler Bard, Frank Cuesta, and Hector Vasquez, I am Ovi Muniz. Thank you for listening to the Hard Hittin Wrestling Show.